President Trump's visit to Japan. Earlier, I spoke with Shihoko Goto. She's a senior associate for Northeast Asia at the Wilson Center's Asia program. I began by asking her how the United States withdrawal from the Trans-Pacific Partnership trade deal is affecting ties.
There have been two developments since the United States pulled out of the TPP. One is that Japan has continued to pursue TPP without the United States in the form of TPP 11. And the talks about this will actually continue at the upcoming APEC meeting where President Trump will be. So for TPP to say here in the United States is dead is a little bit of a misnomer because it is actually alive, and hopefully it will thrive just without Washington. The second development, which really has been made much clearer at the Trump visit in Tokyo yesterday and the day before, is this idea of having an Indo-Pacific framework. And this has been touted as a framework whereby Japan and the United States, as well as Australia and India, they would be the four main countries that would move forward with establishing a regional architecture to come up with an economic framework, to abide by the rule of law, to have some kind of security agreement, a really broad encompassing structure whereby like-minded countries can work together for common goals. So there are two developments that have developed. The United States does want to continue to pursue bilateral trade agreements with countries, and that includes Japan. For Japan, this has been a very sensitive issue because Japan has had to give up a lot, already had to make a lot of concessions to be part of the TPP. The understanding is that if Japan were to pursue a bilateral free trade agreement with the United States, then Japan would have to concede even further on particularly sensitive issues such as in the car sector and further in the agricultural sector.
Recently, when President Trump actually arrived, he was very, happy to see Shinzo Abe. But since then, obviously critical of free trade. It's $69 billion trade deficit, second only to China. 75% of Japanese vehicles are sold in the U.S., built in the U.S., but President Trump wants more cars actually to be sold in Japan. What else can they do to work on free trade?
Well, the Japanese have really stepped up foreign direct investments into the United States, and the government has actually made a big push to state that not only is this investing in the U.S. and helping U.S. consumers get quality cars in their own markets, but it's also creating good jobs, good high-paying jobs, which is exactly what Trump wants to see. And so there's been great emphasis on that. The other thing that Japan is really trying to focus on is to talk about areas of cooperation in the broader areas of developing the U.S. economy. So we are going to see more hopefully cooperation on infrastructure development, on issues regarding basic science research and technological advancements. Those are areas where we should see some more cooperation.
We didn't hear any new deals announced, though. Did you expect to hear some new deals announced from the two?
There is a delegation of business executives that will be going from the United States to China, but I think the big deals that we are expecting will be from the Chinese side. And given that the Japanese have really made a point of making a separation of economic issues and trade-related issues from the security issues. So on the security front, it's continued to be led by the two top leaders, Abe and Trump. But on the economic issues, on trade-related issues, we've had this so-called economic dialogue, which has been pushed down to the vice presidential level between Mike Pence and Taro Aso. And so Japan's strategy, I believe, will be to continue to have this division of economic and trade-related issues. And Japan's tactic will really be to be able to stretch it out as much as it can, continue to press for the Pacific Alliance that I was talking about earlier.